So when you go to the movie theater, you hope to experience a great, satisfying, entertaining type of film. But sometimes you encounter a couple of movies that are unable to live up to your expectations. So this is my top 10 most disappointing films of 2013. Now, as I preface with my best films of the year video, that I only go see films that haven't appealed to me, that I don't just go see whatever's being released that week. So I'm sure there were 10 tons of seeming piles of garbage that were released this year that deserves to be on a absolute worst films of the year list that I didn't happen to go see because they didn't appeal to me. These are films that I went into thinking that they might be possibly good, but ended up being films that really disappointed me to some extent. So, first film on the list, number 10, is a film that when I reviewed it, I said that I very much enjoyed it, that had a lot of entertainment value to me, but I can't deny that there are a lot of problems with number 10 on the list, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, I have to admit that J.J. Abrams does know how to make a big, fun, entertaining type of film. It looks very good. There's a lot of good production value in the film. But I can't deny that there's a lot of script problems that, even though it does have a good story, has good ideas, it doesn't have screenwriters who know how to do sophisticated original writing. There's so much retreaded crap in here from Wrath of Khan and everything else that they keep borrowing from everything instead of creating their own original, solid, strong content. And I think that the characterizations of Kirk and Khan are not very good in the film. I don't think they've developed Kirk in a very good way in this rebooted universe. There's not a lot of maturity that they're injecting into this character. They're not taking him in the right directions to make him a strong, intelligent character. And the con in this film, that even though Cumberbatch does a fantastic, great, chilling performance, this is not continuity in Sing. Continuity in Sing is this passionate, regal, great person that has a lot of self-confidence, a lot of stature about him. It's not someone who would be subjugated by someone else. He'd never stand to be pushed around or ruled by another. That Khan is a lot more to himself than that. And this Khan, by Cumberbatch, is this cold, very sociopathic, very kind of dark, monotone type of character, which is completely opposite to who Khan Noonien Singh is. That the changes in the timeline should not affect the characterization of who Khan is. This guy who was created as this genetically superior superhuman back in the 1990s, late 20th century, and then frozen for 300 years, should not affect who this character is. So the fact that they took this character and put him in this completely different direction really damages the film. That if they made John Harrison, just John Harrison, his own character, I wouldn't have any problems. If they created a brand new villain with his own backstory, then try to borrow something from something else, I think it would have stood a lot stronger. But it's just not a very good piece of writing. There's a lot of bad stuff in this film that just doesn't work. And the ending of the whole film, there's a lot of cop-out stuff, a lot of loopholes in the story. It's not well written. I think there's a lot of problems with the film. Still has a lot of entertainment value, but it just doesn't hold up very strong in my opinion. But number 9 on the list is RIDDICK. This film that I like Pitch Black. I love Chronicles of Riddick. This film was a letdown. It really was. That I think the film took too long to get into the action and the meat of the plot. I thought the ending of the film was a big, giant, cheap, weak cop-out that you have Riddick as the least interesting character in this whole film. There's a lot more entertaining, interesting, charismatic characters in this film that make it a lot more entertaining than Riddick does. They don't write him very well as this very mysterious kind of character that you've had in the previous 2 films. I don't think the film really just lived up to what I wanted it to be. It wasn't that springboard to a new franchise, this rebirth of the character, relaunch of the whole Riddick character that David Twohy and Vin Diesel wanted to be. I just don't think it really had enough punch to be that. If you don't have much investment in that, if you just want to see action sci-fi type of movie, I think it will entertain you. But for my expectations going into the film, it didn't meet them. I didn't think it was quite as good as it could have been. But it wasn't bad, but it just didn't. It was disappointing for what I wanted to be, especially with the ending being where it was. I didn't think it was all that good. But the next one up on the list, Evil Dead, was touted as being, with this tagline, the most terrifying film you will ever see, which was ridiculous. I knew that going in. It's not all that scary of a film. It really goes for much more of that sickening, gory, blood-curdling type of stuff going on in the film. That the thing I didn't like about the film is that it couldn't decide whether it wanted to be a lot of original take on the material or a lot of retread stuff. You keep flip-flopping back and forth between original concepts and the retreaded concepts from the original film, and it couldn't stay on the path of one or the other for very long for me to get dug into the story very much. I thought it was very well produced. A lot of the gore effects I very much respect and admire and appreciate that it went for a lot more practical effects than a lot of other things go today. I respect it a lot for that, but the film just left me feeling with a lot of mixed feelings that it just didn't quite do what it really should have done for me. I thought Evil Dead could have been a lot better than it was if it just kind of decided a little bit more if it wanted to be a lot more original take or just wanted to be straight out remake type of thing. And also the characters in the film were not very interesting, not very memorable. They didn't really do much for anything at all for me. Next one up on the list, Dead Man Down, was a film that the trailer was fucking phenomenal for this film. And the film just did not live up to the goddamn trailer because, for a number of reasons, the trailer boasts an entirely different plot line than the film actually has. And it showcases a much more grander, majestic visual style than the film actually employs. And the director of the film, who is also the director of the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, has gone on record saying that the film was kind of taken away from him. He didn't get to edit the film how he wanted to do, and a couple other things. It just taken away from him at a certain point, so he didn't actually get to make the film quite as well as he wanted it to be. I thought the film had a lot of good things going for it, a lot of great acting, exceptional acting from Colin Farrell and Nuri Rapace. I thought Terrence Howard was a fairly good crime boss, nice intimidation factor from him in the film. The film feels like kind of a second-rate Michael Mann imitation that is trying to do a lot of things that Michael Mann tries to do with his films. Kind of like right at the start of the film, it kind of drops you into the middle of a situation that you don't really know what's going on, and you kind of have to catch up to speed with it, kind of like he does in the theatrical version of Miami Vice or with Heat, where they're just jumping in on these characters. You don't really get a lot of setup. You kind of understand how things are going as you go along, but it doesn't. Dead Man Down doesn't do that very well. It feels like it's trying to do that, but it doesn't have the skill to be able to do it. And the film's ending, which builds up to this whole thing where the whole plot of the film is basically Colin Farrell plays this guy, this Hungarian, who has family killed by Terrence Howard's crime boss character years ago, and he comes back to try and build up this plot of vengeance and scheming and everything, to the point where he's going to lure everyone into this building and have everything crash down on top of him. Literally, he's going to blow the building up and have this big kind of emotional confrontation type of thing, which, if they went that direction, would have been a really strong ending in the film. But instead, they go for this damsel in distress, where it goes into this whole B-movie action thing where he just charges in the building and starts shooting guys up and blowing things down, and it has a very weak as fucking hell ending, where the vengeance factor in the film was not actually carried out at all. It was a real letdown on a film, especially considering how great that fucking trailer was. And number 6 on the list is The Counselor, this film that looked really good from the trailers yet again because it's really the cinematography is some of the best I've seen all year. It just looks gorgeous. Every single Ridley Scott film just looks fantastic because he has great cinematography, he's got great vision. But the film really is overwritten with no real substance to the material that is presenting in this film. Performances are incredible, but the film has no thematic threads to really tie it up into anything. There's no resolution to the events that happen in this film. It's just like, there's a lot of dialogue in this film, which isn't a bad thing because there's a lot of great performances. I love Javier Bardem, who's actually the most charismatic and entertaining thing in the whole film. And there's a lot of weird, darker side of humanity stuff that's very intriguing. I liked how the film was interweaving certain plot points at certain points, but the film just has no payoff. There's nothing at the end of this film that just says, boom, this is a denouement of what everything has happened in this film. There's nothing at the end of this film that ties everything together and says, this is the purpose for everything that's happened here. Just kind of like, it's a film that just ends at a certain point because this is when it's supposed to end. There's nothing else to tell about this film. That's it. And it just like, it left me flat. It left me a very hollow impression of it. It's very, very, very indicative of some Ridley Scott films that he focuses so much on the visuals and the quality, the experience of the film, that he doesn't quite go so much into the deep substance of what's going on with the characters and the story of the film. That unfortunately is a thing that has never really done me for Ridley Scott. Is very much his visual style is really intriguing me as a filmmaker. But moving on to number 5, G.I. Joe Retaliation. This film, I've seen the theatrical cut, and I've now seen the extended cut. Theatrical cut is an incoherent, sloppy mess of shit. There's just the film just it's terrible. It's a terrible cut of the film. Extended cut fixes a lot of the incoherency and a lot of the choppiness in the story. Does a lot better job of that, but ultimately it's just a weak, forgettable type of film that the story is just bland. It's just flat. It just feels like leftovers from the last film, from Rise of Cobra, with the little plot threads they had left hanging at the end of the film. Just feels like, okay, we gotta deal with this, blah, we'll just fucking do whatever, blah. The heroes are bland in this film. I had no connection to them whatsoever. Even the extended cut, which adds a little bit of more character motivations here and there, spells things out a little better. They're not very interesting. They're not very good. Cobra, the villains of the film, are the highlight of the whole goddamn film. Storm Shadow, Cobra Commander, Firefly, Jonathan Pryce's Zartan. They all do a fantastic, entertaining, charismatic job, which is the only thing that really made the film anything. It just feels flat, lazy. There's not a lot of passion behind what these filmmakers were doing. And no, G.I. Joe Retaliation just ended flat for me. I mean, there's just not that much. There's not enough going on in this film to really just say this really was a payoff or anything. It just, even the extended cut, which clears up a lot of things, fixes a lot of problems, it doesn't fix enough problems, and I don't know why this film was delayed 9 months to do any reshoots if they did, because it didn't help anything. But number 4 on the list is Escape Plan, a film that finally brought Stallone and Schwarzenegger together. Supposed to be this big sort of action climax type of thing for their careers. At least in my view, it's supposed to be like, yes, these two are finally getting together and something that looks like a really good action movie that's a throwback again. The thing's shoddy. The thing has shoddy direction, shoddy editing, shoddy shit all over the place. There's no good filmmakers behind this film. It's not well written. It's not well executed. It's not good. The film has too much exposition, not enough action, not enough character. It's a sloppy, really mess. I didn't like it at all, really. There's just not enough that really did anything for me with Escape Plan. It really could have been a hell of a lot better if you put it into the hands of filmmakers who actually knew what the hell they were doing in this genre. It's just not very good. Not very good at all. But number 3 on the list, which is a film I just saw, and I went into it not thinking it was going to be all that good at all, was 47 Ronin. You know, you see the trailers like, okay, I like Keanu Reeves. It could be a decently okay film, and it can't even reach that level. The film is just bland. It's forgettable. It's a samurai. It's supposed to be based on this old Japanese samurai tale, but introduces magic and fantastical elements, which is like, okay, I'm sure this was not part of the myth that they've had going on for generations and everything, and it just like, the film could have been a hell of a lot if it went in a much more that Japanese mythical type of samurai epic type of thing, what you would think of when you say those types of words. If it went in that direction, this could have been amazing and epic. But the movie's bland, it's forgettable. There's nothing really going on that's really worth your while. The only thing that is worth your while in this film is Hiroyuki Sanada, who is absolutely incredible actor in this film. That he was also in the Wolverine this year, and both films he really impressed me with his acting quality. That 47 Ronin, there's nothing impressive whatsoever in this film. He is exceptional in this film. Even if he was surrounded by an impressive cast, he would still be impressive in my view. But beyond that, this film just does not do anything for me. It wasn't worth anything. It's not worth seeing. It's worth being a bomb, because it's just not. It's not going to do anything for anyone whatsoever. The CGI here is crap. I cannot understand where the $200 million budget for this thing went to, because it does not appear anywhere on screen whatsoever. There's such a flat, artistic quality to this film. And this undoubtedly greatly inspirational Japanese tale has endured for generations is translated to this film on the thinnest layers possible. There's such a lack of substance and character and emotion that this film does not meet even the lowest of expectations I had going into it. It's just such a hollow, lifeless, passionless piece of crap. There's just nothing to endorse in this film whatsoever. Period. We're getting to number 2 here. Number 2 is a bit of a surprise in a certain way, because it's The Hangover Part 3. that when I saw this film, I enjoyed it to a certain extent. I had some laughs. I didn't think it was bad. But again, it's fucking forgettable. It's this film that... I love the first Hangover. I love it. It's fucking hilarious to me. The second film, I saw it. I enjoyed it. Blah. Forget about it. I've never seen it again. I have no interest in seeing it again. Same film, done again, just darker, raunchier. This film goes in all the wrong directions, follows the wrong character. I don't know why they kept going back and making this Leslie Chow character of Ken Jeong's this bigger and bigger figure in this series. It makes no sense. The character had 3 scenes in the first film, and now he takes over the whole goddamn movie this time. It's just wrong in every single way. It follows the wrong characters, has the wrong shit going on. It's not all that funny, except for like the last fucking scene of the film is absolutely hilarious. Nothing else is hilarious in the whole film. It's absolutely a dismal end to a trilogy that never had to be a trilogy. One film and done, that's all we really needed to be. But they made sequels because the first one made a shit ton of money, so they kept making it, and they kept making worse films. Hangover Part 3. Why I'm not calling this the worst films of the year, because they're not really bad films, but they're just like big disappointments. And this is a film that just like, it could have been a hell of a lot better than it was, because it's just nothing. It's just forgettable. All that kind of stuff. A lot of these films are forgettable, but you're wondering what number 1 is. What is the top echelon of the most disappointing films of the year for me was... This film actually pissed me off. Iron Man 3 pissed me the fuck off because the goddamn promotional campaign hinged everything on the goddamn Mandarin. That is the film, that is the thing that hooked me into this film, that got me excited for this film, that they kept pushing the goddamn Mandarin, all these goddamn trailers, and they turned it around and give me a giant fucking middle finger in this goddamn film, right in the middle of it. I'm pissed off. The Mandarin thing pissed me the living fuck off. They turned around and made it a goddamn fucking joke in this film. It pissed me off. But that's not the only thing. The film's way too over fucking written. Way overindulgent in its own fucking shit. Shane Black is a great fucking writer. He's done Lethal Weapon and The Last Boy Scout and a whole bunch of other great stuff. He is way too overindulgent in his writing in this film, just way overdone. The comedy bit's going way too fucking long in this film. It sacrifices all the good emotional drama that it could have had with the characters and goes ahead for laughs and cheapens it with all that kind of stuff. It weakens the dramatic integrity of the film with a lot of superfluous, frivolous fucking comedy in this film. I thought the action was very good. A lot of clever stuff with that kind of stuff, but I just felt the film was just way overdone in terms of the comedy, in terms of what the creative direction was. I hate all the fucking trilogy tie-off bullcrap in this film, that they're doing all this stuff to kind of like close the book on Tony Stark and close the book on Iron Man, blowing up all the Iron Man suits at the end of the film, having the core thing removed from his chest, and doing all this stuff to say this is the end of Iron Man almost, and like, fuck you. This is not going to be the end of Iron Man. He's going to be in Avengers 2. They're going to keep milking Iron Man. Even after Downey's gone, they're going to keep going on with Iron Man because he's a commodity. This fucking bullshit. It just didn't sell for me at all. The film just really disappointed me in a lot of ways because it looked like it would have been fucking great if someone actually shows some goddamn restraint in the writing and the directing and the editing of this film. If they really just tighten it up, focus it in the right directions, and actually use the Mandarin the way he was supposed to be used. If you think the Mandarin is not a character that you can adapt in the right way into the film, then don't fucking use him. There's no reason to shit all over the arch nemesis of Iron Man in this kind of fucking way. I've never read a fucking Iron Man comic in my life. But the fact that they hinged the entire marketing campaign so much on the threat of this villain in the film, and they turn around in the middle of the film and throw a big fucking middle finger at you and laugh in your face, that's what pissed me off. And I even had part of this thing spoiled before I went into the film, and it still pissed me off. There are plot points and concepts introduced in this film that are completely changed later on, such as how the extremist technology works in this film, or I have how Tony's anxiety attacks are never fucking resolved anywhere in the entire course of the movie, or why Tony has all these goddamn Iron Man suits that are completely operational and functional, yet he never uses them until the very end of the goddamn film, where he's completely in need of a functional Iron Man suit the entire 2 goddamn hours of this movie. This film is shoddily written on every single level, in my opinion, that just, I cannot resolve these goddamn plot holes whatsoever. Iron Man 3 might not be the worst film of the year, but it pissed me off. It's the film that had the most negative reaction to me. I can't defend that kind of shit. I can't say this is a very good film. I thought beyond the Mandarin shit, there's a lot of bad writing in this film. It's just way too overindulgent. I think that the film just should have just been a lot better than where it was. Should have been written with a lot more restraint, a lot more supervision than it really was. I don't know why Marvel approved this shit. I think Marvel's Cinematic Universe Phase 2 could be a lot better than it has been. I thought Phase 1 was fantastic up until the Avengers, which I thought had a lot of weak plot elements and shit, but regardless of that, let's hope 2014 has a lot better things to show for me than this stuff. Not as much disappointment, a lot more satisfaction. What are your most disappointing or worst films that you've seen in this year? Post your comments below, hit some like buttons, or if you didn't like what I had to say, post some comments about that too. And we'll see you in 2014 with hopefully some better films to talk about. Bye bye.